WorldNetDaily is on the air. Folks, it is Monday, September 16th, and we are less than 24 hours out from another assassination attempt on President Donald J. Trump. Folks, this is, welcome to the program. This is unprecedented. This is outrageous. I'm very disturbed by this. I was sitting in church yesterday, and the phone starts going off. And by the time we were out, people were just astonished at what news was coming out. And so I'm glad you're joining with us today because we've had time to look over all of the news that's been reported. We're putting together a bunch of stuff to walk you through here. And so we're going to take it step by step. We're going to do this in two parts. First, we're going to look at the incident that happened. And then we're going to look at this attempted assassin or whatever you want to call him. We're going to get into it. So let's bring up Josh Turnbow. Josh,
what's up, guys?
Good to see you this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Or this afternoon, wherever you are. I mean, first, let's just get the quick reaction here. We always knew that something is always going to happen, but when it does happen, we're still taken aback by it, right?
Yeah, it's shocking, but it shouldn't be. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, we're hearing that Donald Trump Jr., of course, is like when are they going to stop trying to kill my dad? Is a quote that he's saying, and it doesn't look like anytime soon. This is a sad state of affairs for our country. This is pathetic.
It really is. It really is. And I guess as we know right now, the shooter didn't fire a shot. The shots that were fired were coming from Secret Service or some sort of law enforcement. I wouldn't even want to call the Secret. I'm a little pissed off at the Secret Service right now. But we have the story up at WorldNetDaily. Let's get that up there. This was the breaking news story. President Trump safe after another assassination attempt. He tweeted it out himself. So go there and you can look at some of the facts as they were rolling in yesterday. We also have this clip here. Sean Hannity, who's good friends with the president, was actually asked to go golf with them that day. He didn't, but he was speaking with somebody who was on their way there. And let's listen to some of that.
They were playing, they were on the fifth hole. And the way Steve described this, the way the president described it, they both had exactly the same story, which was that they heard pop, 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 pop. And Steve went into great specificity and great detail as to what happened right after. Within seconds, the Secret Service pounced on the president, covered him. You had snipers with tripods. They knew the direction where the shots had been fired, and they had eyes on the location where the shots had been fired. And long story short, they were I have confirmed with both the president and with Mr. Wickoff that the gun has been found. They identified it as an AK-47. And thanks to Secret Service drone video coverage, they were able to identify one individual involved in this shooting getting into a car after dropping the AK-47. And my understanding, according to both of them, is that that car has been identified, and I believe it's been surrounded. Whether or not that person has been apprehended or not, I don't know. This happened in a matter of seconds.
Okay, so this was breaking at the time, and so that was we know that they obviously got the guy and everything. But Josh, let's set the stage for everybody because I hadn't really taken into account where this happened. This was at Trump's golf course, one of his golf courses down in Florida, in southern Florida. Can you kind of give us the lay of the land here?
Yeah, so I'll walk us through this. So as I zoom down here, this is the golf course, and Trump, they're saying, was over on the fifth hole. Now, some people have said that it's this area here that you can kind of see my mouse, but I think it was over here. And he was going to work his way around here to the sixth hole, which plays down this direction and towards the main hole right here.
Yeah, so that's the green right there.
Yep, that's the green.
Okay.
And I'll do this little run through here. We can kind of see this. Can you see the map here where you the virtual fly through? This is what it'd be like to drive through the course. And
beautiful course.
Yeah. And then here's the hole here. I'm going to pause it here. And we believe at this point that the shooter is somewhere in this area here. So we'll go to the overhead map again. And that would be somewhere in this region here. And we've seen a picture of a fence, but check this out. I'll show you this. This is from the street view, and directly over this would have been the hole. But I mean, look right here. Like,
wow.
Can a person just climb through here up and over the fence? It didn't look like a very effective fence. It's just a chain link fence. And that's where the Secret Service agent saw a barrel of a gun and shot at, as we hear now, shot at the individual, and that caused him to flee. But I mean, this is so close. This is so many more times closer than the last shooting. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
This is not miss range. I mean, this is like this is pretty significant.
Yeah, and we don't quite know where the president was. Like, we don't know if he made it to the green yet, right? Yeah. When it was shot. So those details aren't still there yet. But if you can go back to that map and pull out a little bit more of the street view, you can see there this overhead map. Like, those are all regular streets and highway. I mean, there's a gas station across the street. I mean, this is your average golf course that's in a community, right? And so it's not supposed to be high level security, even for a private club. I mean, that's the 6th hole in the corner. I mean, if you'd really have to like go park your car and drive, and hike your way or walk down the sidewalk and then sneak into the bushes. Now, did you say you found some information about the man's cell phone? Like, they're tracking it, like he was in the vicinity of this for a while?
So it's being reported that I'm going to go ahead and zoom down here, that his cell phone was pinging from this area as early as 2 a.m. Wow. So he, literally was lying in wait in this area, just waiting. And I mean, this is a big deal for this one particular reason, that everyone is saying that this was not a published outing of Trump. Now, does Trump play on Sundays? Absolutely. I do think he switches up where he plays, but how did this person know? Is he just getting lucky that he's waiting there the night before and early enough that, we're going to probably find out that he parked somewhere in the neighborhood and walked over and climbed in. And then I hope we will see more footage. Like, you can imagine that there's going to be camera footage from this intersection, right? Like, we're going to see a lot of images of this guy. But then that begs the question, okay, where does this guy live? He lives in Hawaii. He lives in Hawaii, and he got to the United States across, he flew in somehow, and he has a rifle, an AK-47 with a scope, and it's got a scratched serial number. Where did that come from?
Right. There is a lot of questions.
Yeah.
One of the first questions that's being raised now, of course, is this is 2 months, right? We're almost 2 months out from the first assassination attempt where Trump actually got hit.
Yeah.
And you would think that the level of security around him would have been significantly upgraded.
Right.
But according to the Palm Beach sheriff, Eric Bradshaw, this is what he had to say during a press conference. Let's listen to this.
Well, you got to understand the golf course is surrounded by shrubbery. So when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right. And at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the perimeter. But the Secret Service did exactly what they should have done. They provided exactly what the protection should have been, and their agent did a fantastic job.
Can you believe saying that?
No,
he's not the sitting president.
My first thought, Matt, was like, like a law enforcement with a dog will find a person in the bushes like this,
Yes.
And they were apparently just scouting one hole ahead of the president, which is crazy.
If it's true that he was there for 12 hours, you didn't do a sweep at 8 a.m., at 6 a.m. in the morning, at noon? I mean,
No.
I mean, Trump didn't start playing golf. I mean, that's the sixth hole, the fifth hole. So wouldn't even been out there an hour. You couldn't go there in the late morning after your croissant and your coffee and take your dog up and down the street, right?
Right.
And just
Yeah.
and say, hey, there's something going on, or check the footage.
Right.
I mean, it's astonishing.
If it's going to be like this, it's going to happen again.
Yes. Yeah.
It's too easy. It's way
Yeah.
too easy. This is like rapper level security. You know what I mean? Like a hip hop artist level security. Oh, we went ahead of him. Like one or two guys went ahead.
Right.
They
Well,
just
Trump's going to have
do
to
that
keep
again.
himself strapped. I mean, he should just be walking around with an AR-15 himself,
Yeah.
in a full kit and just ready to rock it. One point of contention here, because this was caught when he said that Trump's not the sitting president, so he's not going to have that level of security that the actual president would have.
Yeah.
Apparently, Obama has pretty good Secret Service protection. Let's watch this clip.
What a complete joke, Liz Peek. I mean, give me a break. They're over there on MSNBC having an entire conversation about toning down the rhetoric of Trump. He just had 2 assassination attempts on his life as they're calling him Hitler and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's really despicable. They're blaming Trump effectively for an attempt on Trump's life, Maria. It doesn't get stupider than that or more vile.
Yeah, and I just want to point out this. According to the Secret Service, the golf course yesterday was not fully secured because, quote, Trump is not a sitting president. Oh, really? Let's take a look at the kind of security President Obama has. Since he's no longer a sitting president, we've got pictures here of President Obama's golf course in Martha's Vineyard. Secret Service inspects every vehicle when they even drive near the course, Cheryl. So what's the answer? He's not a sitting president, yet the golf course that he's on is incredibly secure.
All of these questions should be answered because remember, in the fiscal 2025 budget that has been proposed, there is a budget increase again for the Secret Service. And I think that this all goes up to the top, and that is Secretary Mayorkas, Maria. That's who needs to be answering these questions right now.
Bingo. Great point. Let's take a short.
Yeah, that's it there, Josh. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have closed off those two streets as
Easily.
the president came by,
Right.
or at least had it posted out. I mean, that's the perimeter. And so it begs the question, though. It does beg it made me think about this. We were watching that clip that maybe President Obama has that security because we don't know who really is president right now. Because nobody's heard from Joe Biden, and everybody's always suspected that Obama's, speaking into a microphone down in the basement, right? So maybe he is the sitting president.
Maybe he is the sitting president. Yeah, that's a great point.
So, I'm just one of the other things that was brought up in that clip there was the rhetoric, right? Oh, the rhetoric. We always keep hearing about the rhetoric from the right, but we have been inundated for the past, 8 years or more on the rhetoric coming out of the left and the Democrats and the media, these media extremists calling President Trump Hitler. I mean,
and worse.
and worse. Yeah, exactly. Look at this tweet from Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House. Extreme MAGA Republicans are the party of a national abortion ban and Trump's Project 2025. We must stop them. This was tweeted out yesterday. And if that timestamp is a East Coast timestamp, that was about a half hour before the news broke. I think they need to be a little bit more specific now when they're talking about how we stop people, because it's a dereliction right now by just saying we need to stop them or we need to eliminate them. How? You need to say how. You can't just put that statement out there.
These crazies will read between the lines just like they're meant to do, and they'll act on it. And we don't even know about what happened with the last shooter. He's a mystery now. And we're going to learn more about this guy. He's alive for now.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible that he is alive, and I don't know who has him and where he's in custody or any of that. I haven't been following up on that news this morning, probably because the mainstream media is not following up on it at all. I mean, they're busy talking about JD cats and dogs, right?
Yeah, they love to. They're just so they so urgently want to extinguish that idea that the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats.
Yeah.
But that, okay, back to this idea that this vitriol, it comes from them, and it never seems to stop, and they really can't help themselves, as an example of our next image here.
Yeah, this is Rachel Vindman. She is the wife of that retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who made headlines during the Trump impeachment. No ears were harmed. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, this is gross sarcasm. And so if everybody remembers, Alexander Vindman, he's a very strange character. He worked for the State Department. He was a lieutenant colonel. This is him with his wife, Rachel. And, this guy was lauded as a hero because he listened in on a phone call that Trump had with Ukraine. And essentially Trump was, if I remember correctly, Trump was demanding that Ukraine get to the bottom of some of the corruption stuff that I think he was trying to pin on Biden, because we know the Bidens were corrupt in Ukraine. But Vindman listened to this call, and he then went before Congress and said, "Oh, this is dangerous that the president's demanding things." And they use that as one of the things to try to impeach Trump the first time, was this guy's testimony. So this guy is like the all-star team of the swamp creatures in Washington, D.C. Harvard educated, like, scumbag that essentially will do whatever the regime wants.
Yeah, and folks, if you think that this Ukrainian wife of, or the Vindman and the whole Ukraine thing here is not relevant in this situation, just hold on until we get to segment 2, because there's a wild connection here between Ukraine and this shooter. But I do want to get to this other clip here, because MSNBC is now suggesting that Trump is to blame for these assassination attempts because of the rhetoric that he's delivering. Right? Let's watch this.
Of course.
Do you expect there to be calls from within the Trump campaign to do that? Because he's going to reach out to his supporters and say, let's take this down. We do not know, again, the source of any gunshot or gunshots. We don't know who's responsible for this. The whole thing has yet to be 100% confirmed from start to finish how this all played out. But do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life, and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted, and it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started. So I don't know how long
Unbelievable.
this could, this moment of unity for the country where we come together and we say, I don't want.
It's like this is like a punishment. Like, we told you, tone down your rhetoric. You said you would. Oh, you didn't? Okay, we're back. We're going to keep firing away at you. Trump
did it, Matt. Trump's doing it to himself.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Well, it's like what Tucker Carlson brought up in a couple of his most recent interviews with folks, where he's like, they're at this point now where they're not just lying to you. They're mirroring your lie. They're throwing it back at you. They're saying, I didn't shoot at you. You shot at me.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's almost as if they're claiming that they're the victims in this situation. Oh, the rhetoric is just too much coming out of that Trump campaign. He's bringing it on himself. It's the same argument that we heard when, if you weren't being so cruel to the terrorists, the terrorists wouldn't come and terrorize you, regardless of their ideology and what their worldview is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like folks, if you're watching right now, put an answer into the comments to this question, okay? How do we come back from this? Is the media gonna suddenly turn over 100% a new leaf? Because it took years to get here. Can we come back from this? I'd love you to comment for us.
Yeah, I'd love to know where people would wind up. where they're looking at the mainstream. I mean, look, we all get it. We all start with, because of the bifurcation of news outlets and stuff, and where we get our news. And we're so thankful that you're here with us at WorldNetDaily. We're still paying attention to MSNBC and CNN and all these things, because they set the tone, they set the narrative. Look, we're on the air talking about them a lot. We're always reacting to what they're saying and getting I don't want to say distracted, because these are big world events, and they control the normie narrative. The folks I mean, you told me earlier today, Josh, you had a friend who his first thought his first question to you today wasn't about the Trump assassination. It was about whether or not someone was having an affair with Donald Trump.
Yeah, it was a Laura Loomer question. And if my friend is watching, I apologize, I won't say your name, but that was like, that was like a key news event that's been flying around the mainstream media. And that's really the least of our worries at this second. And it's not even a story.
And it's but it just goes to prove that that's how powerful the narrative is at the mainstream media, and so they're going to continue to do that. Absolutely. So while they're trying to already rabbit hole this Ryan Ruth guy, we've been digging. I mean, the good folks here at WorldNetDaily have been scouring the internet trying to find out who this guy is. There's a photograph of him. That still right there was taken from about a 10-minute long interview that he was giving with a Ukrainian person. I don't know exactly who was filming him, but he was in Ukraine trying to help them fight the Russians. And so, like I said earlier, there is a connection here with Ukraine, and it's very, very strange. So this is the story up over at WorldNetDaily. I encourage you to go over there and read that, share it around, get everybody's eyeballs on this as we try to break down who this guy is. He's basically a radicalized Ukrainian supporter. He's gone to Ukraine to fight. He even tried to recruit soldiers for war. This is that his LinkedIn profile there?
Yes.
Yeah, LinkedIn. So a lot of the stuff's getting scrubbed off the internet, but you can see he's got his Ukrainian flags up in his photo there. People were saying that they're not really clear what his political leanings are, but we've seen photographs of like his truck in his Hawaii home that has a Biden-Harris sticker on it. So there's a lot of back and forth here, but he claims that he was supporting Trump in 2016, apparently, from a social media post. But clearly, when someone goes off and tries to assassinate somebody, they're not all quite there. They're kind of jumbled, I would imagine.
Yeah, we have a clip of that truck too. Let's play that real fast. We'll take a look at that. Mm-hmm. I think it's in
Ka'ava on Oahu a few years ago, and they're stunned that he could be involved in something like this. Our Stephen Florino reports.
This quiet neighborhood on the windward side of Oahu rocked at the news. Their neighbor, reportedly the suspect in the attempted assassination of former President Trump in Florida.
He went over there to do that? Really? Wow, it's hard to believe.
Wow, this is like unbelievable. It's like one of those movie type of deals. I mean, it's a small community, real family oriented. He's a real nice guy. Him and the girlfriend get along, well, most of the time great, but it's amazing.
Neighbors say Ryan Routh lived in this house for several years. Didn't talk politics, but the home did show his allegiances. The American flag near the door, the Biden-Harris sticker on the truck bed.
But he hasn't talked too much about politics. I mean, they did have a Biden sign in the front of the house, but other than that, no, not really.
Oh, just the Biden-Harris sign in the front of that. No, they don't talk about politics too much, bro. Give me a break. This guy it's clear.
He traveled to Ukraine to fight.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. Yeah.
The level of media manipulation that draws somebody who lives in Hawaii, of all beautiful places, on the most beautiful place on the planet, who follows obviously Democrat policy and is for Democrat politics and so forth. It got so worked up. Yeah. Do we have a clip where he talks about how the battle in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, is, he says most conflicts there's a lot of gray, but here he talks about how when you look at the Ukraine and Russia war, it's clear black and white. One side is evil and one side is good, and the Ukrainian and the Western civilizations are good. They are good, and Russia is evil. So whether or not you agree or disagree with any of that, he believed that, and that's what drew him to go to Ukraine and fight. We have footage of him at one of there was a protest or some sort of ceremony or something that was happening out here. I know I'm jumping ahead here, but there was a clip of him. Clip 6, I think, and then we can talk about it.
Та вся Україна вас просить це зробити.
I am Azov, I am Mariupol, I am Ukraine. Sorry, it's really hard, but the purpose of the action is to appeal to world leaders, world organization, with a demand.
Yeah, there he was right there. And
Right.
this was an Azov Battalion propaganda video. Who is the Azov Battalion?
So the Azov Battalion is they're very sketchy. So these are the guys that are always coined as pro-Nazi Ukrainian fighters, and they have been for a long time. Now, if you Google it, Google hides all this, but they're often seen with swastika badges on their camouflage outfits and their uniforms, and they have connections to the CIA, of course, because the CIA is almost involved in everything that is going on internationally. So in our tweet here from WorldNetDaily, we see that there's a potential connection between this guy who was working with the Azov brigade or battalion, and so was the CIA. So there's like all this interplay where this guy, being an easily manipulated, smooth-brained liberal, most likely, was going back and forth to Ukraine. I think we have it coming later that what he was doing there, he was trying to recruit fighters out of Afghanistan for a moment as well, and he seemed to think that he could do that and buy passports, with whose money is a big question that I hope we'll have answered. But this guy looks like a classic patsy, and you really can't help but look at this person and think of Lee Harvey Oswald as an example. So Lee Harvey Oswald, he's working with the CIA and doesn't even know it. He thinks he's being trained in communist camps. The camps are actually run by the CIA, and this is the modern version. Ukraine is fertile ground for this kind of insanity now.
Yeah, and if anybody's been following the Ukraine, I mean, for the last 10 years since their coup, and even years before, the U.S. involvement, the U.S. government's either covert operations in the CIA to overthrow the government out there. But here's how extensive it goes back with this guy. He has a personal and public participation in military activity in Ukraine. You've got all of this photo stuff is on his Facebook and Instagram and so forth. Edward Snowden was following this story, but also apparently he was charged in 2002, 22 years ago, with possessing weapons of mass destruction. Apparently, look at this. Look at this tweet here. Walk us through this here, Josh.
Yeah. So in our tweet we have here, it says that apparently he has an extensive criminal record, and in 2002 he was charged with possessing weapons of mass destruction. In the quote, it points that out. We're not sure what that means, but one thing that we are seeing here in the pattern is that this guy is an activist, but he's the kind that is actionable. So this is always the kind of person that the CIA wants, or intelligence agencies want. He's a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He does things. He puts on, like the activist appearance, and he cares deeply about what's going on, which allows him to hate, most likely, someone like Trump. And here we go. So his activist behavior took him all the way to the moment where he was going to shoot the president. And if this guy wasn't on a watch list, that seems unlikely, because just the traveling back and forth to Ukraine and even openly talking about smuggling Afghan fighters through Pakistan, this is the kind of stuff that usually gets you on the radar. Well, it used to, at least. Now grandmas that go to the Capitol get to be on the radar. So
right.
Who knows?
Exactly. Well, to further back up the suspicion here, is this ties to BlackRock, right? And
it gets weirder.
Yeah, because we as we covered the Thomas, I forget his name, Thomas Crooks. He was in a BlackRock video, a promotional video, and now that we have this guy with ties to Ukraine and the CIA potentially, here's Ukraine, the president of Ukraine, holding a meeting with the management of BlackRock, and so the web is the spiders spinning this web all over the place, and we're just going to keep eyes on it and ask these questions. I can't really. It's hard to not go down this road, Josh, because when you have someone like Donald Trump, who has stated from the beginning that he wants to return the America, give it back to the people. Right. That would imply that it's in the control of something other than the people, which our elected leaders in Congress keep telling us that they are there for the people. Mm-hmm. So either it's true or it's not. Either the government and our world is in control of something other than the people, and then that begs the question, well, then who? And then when you start to see all of these connections and all these things get put together, and they're all aiming to keep Donald Trump from regaining control of the White House, or even perhaps even living at this point. You have to beg the question, well, what's really going on? Who's really behind this? And then you got guys like RFK who are out there going, look, this stuff's been going on since my uncle was murdered and my father was murdered. So I mean, this is the mainstream thought right now. The media extremists are trying to distract us, but this is the mainstream thought right now.
And Matt, the BlackRock meeting is not a secret. So as an example, almost from the first year of the war, BlackRock was saying, hey, it's going to take a lot of money to rebuild Ukraine, but we want to be first into the country to finance the rebuilding of Ukraine. And it kind of got noticed by a lot of folks, like, great, now BlackRock wants to own everything. But what they were doing it under the guise of, look, we're such a great organization, we're going to help finance you rebuilding. But this is like, well, it's the largest wealth management company on the planet, but it gets kind of creepy, right? It starts to look like a Bond villain. Spectre, maybe.
You know me, I love James Bond, so that's and all this stuff, fact and fiction and what's first, and art imitates life imitates art. I mean, this is just human nature, and it's been around forever, so we know this. So the questions are going to be raised now is how did this Ryan Routh guy know that Trump was going to be golfing here? How did he know early enough to book a flight from Hawaii to come here? Let's watch this clip that we have posted over on X.
Where is the suspect now? I know he's behind bars, but where?
Well, what we did is we turned him over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. So I don't know where he is right now. Okay.
Did he say how did he know that Donald Trump was going to be playing golf? How did he have access to his schedule?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. We are the border county to Palm Beach. You can't get out of their county without coming through ours. But we don't have the intel from the scene there. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to imagine how he got within rifle range of President Trump.
Yeah, that is the $1 million question. Earlier, somebody said it was the $64,000 question. So this question is raising in value, Josh. How did he know? How did he know?
Matt, I hate to say this, but doesn't it seem like the most likely scenario is that we won't know anything about this guy? We won't know what's in his email. I want to be wrong on this, by the way, folks. Will we know? We should see in his email, we should see in his web history, his search history, that he knows something. He clearly unless he was already here, but I mean, we know he lives in Hawaii, so he got over here. And the big thing is how long is this guy going to be alive? That's
Yeah.
a big question. If he is alive, Matt, to me it means he didn't have a handler, most likely, because he's got no one to rat out. But will there be some communications that we can see? I mean, it just seems like we can't see anything now, right? They hide it from us. And the press is like blind. They won't ask. They say like, we don't know anything, and we don't want to know anything.
Yeah, they really don't. You know, I do credit that girl there at Fox News for saying, you know, how did he? I mean, it was almost like it was a second thought to her. She was like, how did he know he was going to be there? I mean, that's the big question. I mean, you know, when you the previous assassination attempt at the rally in Butler, you knew because he was coming. Like they sent out text, you know, when Trump was in our area about 3 or 4 hours away from me, I got a text that he was coming to the area and that I should go out there and rally with them. So they publicized that stuff. But you know, a Sunday afternoon golf a round of golf is not something that they publicize widely. And again, how long was he in Florida for? When was he coming from Ukraine and stopped in Florida on his way back to Hawaii? Like what was the itinerary there? So a lot of questions. Now, again, we're coming up close on 24 hours since this news broke. And so I would hopefully suspect that we're going to start to see some of that dust settle and some of those facts still come out there. So please make sure you're following us on X as we get those facts out there. We will keep them coming at you. One of the other things that was interesting, and I don't know if this happens with every, you know, controversial figure in Ryan Roost's situation, but Facebook and X have wiped their accounts. This guy was a prolific social media guy, and so apparently Facebook took his account offline. Not before folks, and I don't know if we're trying to bring that up here. Sorry for that. But folks online have captured as much as they can. So I'm sure you're seeing, as we are, a plethora of posts from his account. So keep your eyes on that there. Here's one of his. And if you try to refresh, his Facebook account is gone. So
yeah, who's doing that? Like, how's that happening if he's in jail? Why are they hiding his account? That seems like, unless the feds are asking them to take it offline so they can look at it, but it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't
why they're
make
doing
sense.
That. Yeah.
No, one of the greatest things about crowdsourcing information is the fact that you can have so many eyeballs on a piece of information, and it can be disseminated so quickly. I mean, we see that on a lot of these internet boards where people try to figure out, they look at the clues, they share information. I mean, I guess some of it's susceptible to photoshopping and fraud of some sort, but at the end of the day, usually the truth does come out, and we find out information rather quickly. So, yeah. It's a great question. We had. It still begs the question, though, on where do we put the blame on this? Now, the blame, of course, should be in the hands of the man carrying the gun, but as I think we've laid out here, is that this guy went to Ukraine to fight because he believed that Ukraine is good and Russia is evil, and he has a moral obligation to do that. And so when you watch the rhetoric over the years towards President Trump, one could, and we've said it on this show before, one can only conclude that if you truly believe that Trump is Hitler, then you got to take him out. Is that what they're trying to?
I think so, Matt. I mean, that it looks like that's what the case they've been building for since 2016.
It is. We got a couple of tweets just to show you how far this rhetoric has gone. Let's watch this one. Maze Moore on Twitter posts excellent content. So this is one of their clips.
MSNBC counterintelligence analyst Malcolm Nance warned the national security threat is here, the president's loyalty. Take a listen to what he said.
This nation is under threat, and the threat is the person sitting in the seat of the president of the United States. His actions, his behaviors, his staff, they appear to be this wholly owned subsidiary of Vladimir Putin. He has more loyalty to them than he has to the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, there you go. So that was a clip from 2019 when President Trump was in office. And again, if you're somebody who's like, oh my God, this guy's in bed with Putin, the most evil thing on the planet, well, I got to do something about it, right, Josh?
Yeah, you would have to act as a crazy person that thinks that this is all the Ukraine war is such a holy thing, and we're seeing it happen. And then, like just to throw to our next clip here, sometimes this is a clip from last year. The messaging is very direct.
Just unquestionable at this point that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Wow.
Pretty cut and dry. Eliminated.
It's yeah.
What can that mean? That can mean a lot of things, but I think
eliminated off the ballot. His name has to be scratched out off the ballot, and that's all. We just need pens.
The crazies are picking up on what they're trying to put down.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, because you have to be clear. You have to be clear when you're using language like that. And I mean, that was a former I don't know if he's a sitting congressman talking to the former press secretary, circle back Jen Psaki, right?
Yeah.
And now they're on TV talking about how Trump has to be eliminated. And not only Trump has to be eliminated, but the whole movement has to be eliminated. We had Hillary Clinton talking about that there needs to be a reprogramming. We need to
re-education.
Re-education and deprogram the cult.
Yeah.
This rhetoric is bananas.
I don't think it's going to slow down. I think pray for Trump, everybody, because I mean, this is the second attempt. I feel like there's going to be more.
Yeah, it's unfortunately. I think you're spot on there. I don't know how we end this with sirens really going. With ambulances rushing President Trump somewhere. I mean, I pray it doesn't happen. I'm not the type to say that I'm wishing for that for any reason whatsoever. But this is, but like I said, like we said at the top, we knew that this was going to happen again. We know that these attempts are going to happen again, and we admittedly get shocked when they do. But you're right. I mean, all we can do is pray and just, I mean, at the end, I'm a happy warrior, man. I know in the end, God wins. That's already been determined,
Right.
And so, so all of this stuff is just theater playing out. And if we're going to get caught up in it, then we have to do our due diligence, which is pray and hopefully get through this. A lot of questions are going to be asked, where he got this scratched off serial number gun, where he got, how long he's been sitting in those trees and those bushes. And we hope that those questions get asked. We can only ask them so much. I mean, thankfully we have this platform to ask these questions.
Yeah.
But hopefully our senators, our congressmen, and the folks who do real journalism will continue to do this. Josh, where can people follow us and make sure that they keep track of all of the goings-ons?
So, guys, one thing about this story is it just doesn't stop. The news keeps breaking. We're in the news business over here, and it's nonstop for us. I mean, this story is breaking on a Sunday. So, what can you do? Follow us on our X account is the biggest thing, and also over at WorldNetDaily.com. Those two sources will have the most breaking. Also, we have an Instagram account that has stories that kind of lay all these things out in the story format so that you can kind of follow along. It gives you the quick broken down version of what we know so far, and those are constantly updated. This is the big thing. You gotta follow us, and we will bring you the most breaking and verified pertinent information. You can also follow us on Rumble, which is like what you're watching on now. Hopefully, we want you to like and subscribe, please. It's important to us. And we can't do this unless people still want to see it. So we need you to do that. And also on Telegram. Our Telegram channel will have a lot of the breaking stuff, a lot of stuff that will be censored too. You can actually see on our Telegram. So we'd love you to follow us over there. and we will always give you the latest. And what our show is normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If something crazy happens, we'll break in, come back. We'll be here to tell you the latest.
Yes, that is our hope and commitment to you folks out there. You know, one real quick, I just signed up for the Rumble Premium, you know, where you don't get those ads, the ads that pop up in front.
Yeah.
Man, not having those ads pop up is like, I didn't know how. I'm like, that was actually a really good deal. It's
Definitely.
a really good deal. And it goes to support Rumble, which is a great free speech channel. And they're coming under fire, as we know. We do have to check in with Pavlov over at Telegram and see how he's doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, follow all those stories along. Just like Josh said, we will be back here on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless.
Thanks.